How you doing? This is Philip McKernan. I'm engaged today in Calgary, and I'm sitting next to Jay Niblick, who's dressed pretty casual today, but he looked pretty sharp on stage yesterday. What was really impressive about Jay is I had the opportunity to spend a number of hours with Jay on Friday. It was on Thursday at a closed-door mastermind. And had never come across Jay before, but he's written a book called What's Your Genius? And quite frankly, I haven't read the book, but if it's anything to do with a sense of you in this book, I suspect it's really excellent. But what really blew me away with Jay, and I'm going to pass over to him in a second, was a study they did of 197,000 people. And two big findings. I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to pass over to Jay. Jay, if you could just share with the audience in Canada, Ireland, Australia, and wherever else people follow, what was the findings and what was the study?
The impetus behind it was, as a consulting firm all over the world, we kept seeing these two different populations, and you've seen them too. The people that were always exceeding expectations, peak performers, didn't struggle, seemed to just kind of cruise through it consistently. And then there was always this group, even in the same organizations, that always struggled, were always frustrated. The Harris poll of 23,000 showed similar results. Less than 50% of the people were satisfied and fulfilled by what they did every week. So it was, what is this? Why are they there? Is there any two clear camps? Is there any reason we can find that's different between the two? So we gave a series of profiles to these 197,000 people. And then we looked at their performance in the workplace and based on their managers. And the only two that showed up, and we didn't know what was going to show up. 7 years worth of looking at all this stuff, gathering all this data. Wow. This was across 23 countries. And what dropped out were just two things. It's kind of a little underwhelming. We were this big, huge funnel of work, and tink, tink, that's it that came out the bottom. But it was self-awareness and authenticity. It's the only two things that the very top performers, that entire population, had in common. Wow. And when we started investigating it and interviewing them, we found that they knew what their talents were, their natural talents and non-talents, about 89, 90%. This whole population over here that always struggled, they had about a 57%. They just didn't really know. You sat down and said, what are your 5 strongest talents? And they,
Interesting.
The best? Wow. I know them right off the bat.
Well, one of the challenges with self-awareness, and one of the challenges and this is not about me, it's not about my programs, it's really about just the information and the study and the results, is that I quite often talk about self-awareness and I talk about the importance of it and how I've used it myself, or how I've managed to get to a point where my self-awareness is certainly better than it was. It could possibly be a hell of a lot better. But people see it as fluffy. Entrepreneurs see it as fluffy. Say, yeah, okay, I get it. Self-awareness, I get it. So where's give me the shit, give me the technical stuff, and they keep in the busyness, and they keep moving, and they keep moving, and that would be a challenge to almost put a value on self-awareness. But yet, I believe it's one of the most magical things in the world.
Drucker called it the knowledge economy. The empires of the future will be empires of the mind. That was Churchill, actually, and years ago they predicted this. And we were in an industrial economy, and we still are in our minds. In the industrial economy, the primary asset was tangible. The core value in the company was something you could touch, the machines that manipulated the raw materials. We're still there. The vast majority of the management principles we still practice today came out of the industrial economy. They didn't exist before it. Frederick Taylor created them in it. But today's the intellectual economy. And that core value, and people say this, but they don't really get it. That core value is intellectual. It's what happens between your ears. And so when an entrepreneur or somebody looks at me and says, yeah, that's fluff, and I need to focus on these tangible, tactical things, I smack them and say, you're stuck in an old paradigm. Yeah. You're the primary asset. The decisions that you make are going to have a greater impact on your business than anything else you do. And you're irresponsible and acting a fool if you say that's not important. Now, this is your money and your venture, so if you want to invest it and play with it, fine. But I tell entrepreneurs it's time to start acting like this is a business, not a hobby.
Okay. Wow. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, it just hit me like a steam train the other day on two fronts. One was the fact that Jay and his organization had actually gone out and spent all of this time and all of this energy, and literally, as he said, two things popped out. I think he's making it sound a little bit easier than it was. But anyway, the second thing is that some of the work I do, not all of the work I do, actually focuses on those things. And I'm not trying to claim that I'm ahead of the curve. I'm not. I'm just, it's kind of good to know that that's... I've got one little quick question for you. A lot of people say, okay, what is self-awareness? What is it? And I know it's a really broad thing, but if you were to try and kind of filter it down for somebody who's listening going, okay, I get it, I've heard it, but where do I start, or what is it? Is that an unfair question, or is it?
No, it's a common one, so we've formulated an answer to it. Because people want to think of things like tangible stuff, we've broken it down into three discrete parts. It's the what, the why, and the how. It's what natural talents you have based on how you think and make decisions. And there are actually accurate scientific ways of measuring those things and finding out whether you're great at strategic planning or organizational ability or emotional intelligence, and on and on. You can actually measure those things. Then there's why are you motivated to use it? Again, things that can be accurately measured. Are you doing it for people or monetary gain or individual gain? And then how do you prefer to use it? So you've got this talent and I want to use it to make money, but then how do I do that? And that's a behavioral style, which again is something that can be measured.
Wow. We could, as I said, we could keep going. I got lots more questions, but listen, I would recommend it. Genuinely, I haven't read the book, but I will be reading the book. And What's Your Genius? Jay Niblick, it's been an absolute pleasure. Delighted to have the time with you and share the stage with you. So
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers.